I've been a private pilot for 27 years. Last year I joined South Wings, a nonprofit conservation organization that provides a network of amateur pilots who volunteer their time to take environmentalists, policymakers, and news people on flights to view the area from above. South Wings is headquartered in Asheville, North Carolina, and has conducted thousands of flights over the Gulf oil spill, the Appalachian coal mines, the Chesapeake Bay, and recently the Golden Ray. When Barbara Sprouse asked me 6 months ago to talk about South Wings, I was going to have lots of experiences to relate to you, but after one flight, COVID-19 struck and closed down much of general aviation. So instead, I will broaden my talk to the use of aerial photography in environmental conservation. Many environmental problems hit you in the eye as you walk or drive around coastal Georgia. There's a smelly dump or an oily river. Others are more visible from above. Let's leave the two-dimensional world that we all live in most of the time and enter the three-dimensional world. So what does an aerial view add? Well, you're looking down on top, you're viewing a larger area, you're seeing areas that aren't visible from the ground. You can view proximities and relationships better. And if you add the fourth dimension of time, you can see how things are changing, either due to human activity or to natural forces of weather. So how do you get up there? How do you get that aerial view? Well, I'll talk about satellites, drones, and airplanes. They can all give you pictures. Airplanes can add personal experience. Satellites. Here's where it started, 1960, the first television image of Earth from space, transmitted by a weather satellite. Nowadays, satellite photography can be used to produce composite images of an entire hemisphere. Such pictures, or the famous one taken from the moon called Earthrise, demonstrate the interconnectedness of our Earth world. The Landsat program is the longest running enterprise for the acquisition of satellite imagery. But most of it has not been processed from raw data. After all, the Earth's surface area is 200 million square miles, so you have to know where to look if you're going to access visual information. Such publicly available satellite image data sets are typically processed by third parties, such as Google Earth, with its private computer program that makes it more user-friendly and with an image resolution as small as 15 centimeters. For example, here's our home in Pepper Tree Crossing on the north edge of Brunswick from Landsat via Google Earth. Driveway cracks show up in the middle of the picture that are about a ½ inch thick. But currency is an issue. Let's back off a bit to show the whole Pepper Tree community, which is the triangle in each of these pictures. On the left, the picture from Google, and on the right, from my own airborne camera several weeks ago. Although Google advertises its images as 2020, it lacks the view of the new Altama Elementary School going up on the north edge of Pepper Tree, in the upper left middle of the picture. Closing in on that area, you see the school's construction behind homes in Pepper Tree, which have been hearing the construction noise for 6 months and we're happy to be able to see what was happening and its progress and get a sense of its scope. Aerial imagery can be coupled with other technologies. One of the most powerful is called LiDAR, or 3D laser scanning, which can be used to make high-resolution, three-dimensional maps with applications in many fields. In this dramatization, an aircraft flying over the jungle maps every leaf in this Brazilian rainforest, allowing assessment of the health of the forest during climate change.
Pulses of laser light, 300,000 per second, each one represented by a single leaf. Flying above a protected area of a Brazilian rainforest, NASA scientists measure changes in the canopy to understand how climate change affects the amount of carbon stored in the Amazon's mighty trees.
Just last month, LiDAR was used to discover a 3,000-year-old Mayan town. Under the vegetation in Mexico, near the Guatemalan border, LiDAR discovered the remains. The long brown object on the right is a mile long, 50 feet high, with 9 causeways radiating out from it. This is the oldest monumental construction ever found in the Maya area and the largest in the entire pre-Hispanic history of the region. It has changed anthropologists' whole concept of the development of Mexican culture. So, satellite views have progressed so much in 60 years that we now have remarkable, detailed, technically processed images of the Earth's surface. But there are issues such as user-friendliness, cost, currency. So let's move from several hundred miles in the sky of satellites down to several hundred feet. That's the domain of drones, or UAVs, unmanned aerial vehicles. You get high-quality aerial photographs and video. You get real-time vision, FPV, first-person view. The pilot sees with what the UAV sees. Drones can be maneuvered accurately to precise locations. They're easily deployable, up-to-date, user-friendly, and for a really rather modest cost. Good ones starting at about 400, professional drones about 1,600. But drones do have their limitations also. One is height. It's illegal to fly them above 400 feet. That's about 5 tree heights. And you can see what that looks like in the photo on the right. So the total view down below is about 800 feet wide. Secondly, distance from the handler. The weight of the battery limits flights to about 30 minutes. So a drone flying at 8 miles an hour can fly about 4 miles. But for immediacy and emotional impact, one can't beat this drone video of the protest march just last month in Portland.
The New York Times compiled a gallery of aerial images. The video at the top was shot by Portland Drone. The company was chosen by the Times because it has a waiver for flights over people, otherwise not allowed by the FAA.
It probably took me 10 to 15 minutes of flying to finally realize what I was, a part of.
So how can drones help nature conservationists? Here are 5 ways. 1, aerial mapping and nature monitoring. A drone can provide crystal clear images. They can also carry meteorological equipment and therefore do very many kinds of different experiments. 2, renewable energy maintenance. Drones can partner with renewable energy companies to furnish real-time videos of such things as wind turbines and their blades, power cables, hydroelectric dam walls, disaster relief. Drones are used to assess, prevent, and even combat environmental disasters by gathering information from across an affected area. This is Typhoon Haiyan. Protecting wildlife. Drones are a great tool for monitoring with minimal disturbance a species' population and determining its range. Can even stop poachers before they strike by pinpointing their locations. On the right, this drone is hovering over an orangutan nest deep in the hard-to-reach rainforest of Sumatra, which helps to reveal population numbers, the actual age of the nest, just barely visible there, and what vegetation it's even made of. Drones are also being used as precision agricultural instruments. So, with all the wonders of satellite and drone technology, what can airplanes contribute? I can go faster, higher, farther. But these can be disadvantages. I can't go slower than about 70 miles an hour, so snap that photo fast. I can't go lower than about 500 feet above people and buildings. I can go farther, but the fuel costs mount up. The main advantage of planes is being there, personal experience. As Laura Easterly wrote, when I first started as the Satilla Riverkeeper, a flight was helpful to just get the lay of the land of the watershed. It's helpful to see things from the air because it is hard to get the full picture when you are on the ground. So here's my humble aircraft, a Piper Tomahawk with two side-by-side seats. And here's an aviation map of the area that I mostly fly in, from Bullock Statesboro Airport on the top to Brunswick Golden Isles Airport at the bottom. One of the first environmental issues was the capsizing of the Golden Ray in the St. Simons Sound. Here's our beautiful marshes of Glen that could potentially be damaged by that oil. And in fact, early surveys of the waters showed oil accumulation on the shores of St. Simons Sound, Jekyll, the East River, and the Mackay and Back Rivers. In October, Southwing's flight discovered two hunks of fuel oil. This is one shown here. They're very thick and hang together like a raft. And oil sheen as far away as Blythe Island. And at that time, most of the sound had a visible sheen on its surface. Several weeks later, I flew with Altamaha Riverkeeper Susan Inman and University of Georgia professor Mandy Joy looking for oil sheen. There was much less and required trained eyes to see it. In the marshes of the Mackay River. We flew as low as 300 feet over the marshes. My more recent photos show the building of the restraining girdle around the Golden Ray prior to its sectioning. Georgia's rivers are particularly important for aerial monitoring. On the right are shown Georgia's major rivers, and on the left, the watersheds that they drain. Our area is drained by the Altamaha and the Satilla. Here are a couple pictures of the Satilla that I took. This one from 3,000 feet. And This one from less than 1,000 feet. The water level is so high that the land in the lower right of the photo has been flooded. The proposed landfill in Brantley County near the Satilla River seems unwise. This short video by Satilla Riverkeeper Laura Easterly. The site is outlined in orange, 2 miles from the Satilla. Recently, that whole site was flooded. A flight illustrates, notice the sun shining off the water as it flies over. Here was a particular major success up in Columbia, South Carolina. This picture of 2015 flooding of the Congaree River stopped development of the billion-dollar Green Diamond development outside of Columbia. Here's a video by Southwings volunteer pilot Hap Endler.
My name is Hap Endler and I fly a Skylane 182. I always wanted to be a pilot. I started flying back in the early 80s with the military in the Navy and flew with the Navy for 6 years. Got out and then met with Southwings in early 2000. With Southwings, I've flown as far to the west as Louisiana. We went down to the Gulf after Katrina and flew up into West Virginia with mountaintop removal issues, and we've flown Atlantic coast, South Carolina, North Carolina, and all points in between. Flight partners with Southwings are varied. We have a lot of flights with the Waterkeeper Alliance. We fly the Southern Highlands Conservation. We fly wildlife, reporters, anyone who wants to take a look at environmental issues in the Southeast. It's a great mission to take folks that are passionate about the environment to be able to see their issues from the air. It makes such a difference to be able to see it from a different perspective. It's really great to see them in action and help them to be able to do their job.
Finally, here are some possible future areas of concern for aviation environmentalists. The Rayonier Paper Company in Jessup, Georgia Pulp and Paper, Sea Island beach erosion and attempts to deal with that, and the Twin Pines titanium mine proposed near the southeast corner of the Okefenokee Swamp. Thank you.